Good morning again, and thank you for joining this Back to Business grant webinar hosted by the Illinois Senate Republican Caucus, as well as our partner, the DCEO, the Department of Economic Opportunity for the state of Illinois. My name is Ellie, and I'm with the Senate Republican Caucus. We're so glad you're here to learn more about this grant opportunity and hopefully provide you with assistance on how to apply to ensure that you're qualified so that you can start receiving some recovery funds. We do have several DCEO representatives on standby with us today who will be happy to answer some of your questions throughout the presentation, and they will be leading the presentation to provide you with all the information that your business may need to apply for one of these Back to Business grants. But before we get started, we do have a few senators joining us this morning, so I want to give them an opportunity to say hello and introduce them. So first, we have State Senator Dale Fowler from our most southern Illinois district. So Senator, if you would like to say a few words to get us started.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ellie, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And a special thank you to the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for this opportunity. I'm extremely excited for this next round of grant funding coming through. I know some of you, many of you, if not all of you, have been really impacted by COVID-19. So to be able to have this next round of funding coming through is great for the state of Illinois, and hope it's going to be great for your business as well. So thank you for joining us today. And we're always here for you. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Senator. We also have State Senator Craig Wilcox, and he's from the northwest suburbs. So Senator, if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Ellie. Yeah, I'll echo what Senator Fowler said, and just happy to have the ability to reach out and get you involved in this so you can get your questions answered, determine whether you qualify, and then get moving forward. Our district office will always remain ready with June and Jason there to help as you go through this process if you have additional questions. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think our final senator who was able to join us this morning is State Senator Erica Harris. Senator, if you'd like to say a few words.
Sure. Thanks for joining, and thanks for DCEO for this opportunity for everybody to come together. And hopefully you'll learn today how to navigate the process here and maybe share with other local business owners, as well as everyone works for recovery and moving back to business.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'll turn it over to DCEO in just a moment to go ahead and have them kick off their presentation. But first, just a reminder, if you do have questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and enter them in real time into the chat box. DCEO has representatives on standby, and they'll be answering as many questions as they can that come through that chat box. There may be opportunity at the end to kind of take those questions out loud and to clarify any as well. But I'll allow DCEO to kind of handle the Q&A portion section how they see fit. Also, if there are members of the media on the call joining us today to learn more about the program as well, please know that we'll follow up with you if you have any follow-up questions, but we do reserve this dedicated hour to the business participants for them to ask as many questions as they need to, and to allow DCEO plenty of time to give their presentation. So with that, I'll go ahead and kick it over to Manny with DCEO. I think he's going to introduce his team, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So Manny, all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ellie. Really appreciate the invitation to be here. Thank you very much to Senator Fowler, Wilcox, and Harris. Appreciate the opportunity to present this information to everyone. Really, today is going to be a kind of an overview of the programs, what's eligible, how much, and where the biggest piece, probably, where to get assistance, how you could get help on the application process. So I'll start off first by introducing myself. Good morning. My name is Manny Lopez. I am the Assistant Deputy Director out of the Office of Regional Economic Development, or as we're affectionately known, Team Red. With me today, I have some of our team members, and I will allow them to go ahead and introduce themselves. Agnes, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Yes, Nick. I'm the regional manager from the Northeast region. Joe?
How you doing? I'm Joe McCune. I'm a regional manager for the Northeast region, covering the 10-county region in Northern Illinois.
Aaron Goldstein, legislative liaison for the department. I work with Senator Fowler and Senator Harris and Senator Wilcox to make sure that they have what they need. Thank you all for being here.
And I'm Daryl Hampson, a region manager for the Southern region. We cover the 19 southernmost counties in the state. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay, I am going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And as Eli mentioned, you can post your questions in the chat. My team is going to be going through the questions, fielding, answering them as they come. However, we will hold a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, just to make sure if there's any outstanding questions that we need to address. So let me go ahead and start sharing. Now let me know if you guys could see everything's okay. All right.
Looks good.
So this is our Back to Business grants for restaurants, hotels, and creative arts businesses program. More or less, our Back to Business program provides recovery grants for businesses in the hardest hit industries. During the pandemic, it was a global pandemic. It obviously caused a lot of issues economically for businesses far and wide, but these are some of the hardest hit industries. So we really kind of targeted restaurants in this program, hotels, and creative arts. There's approximately $175 million in available grant funding for these three programs. Basically, the difference with this one is all applicants will receive a grant as long as they meet the eligibility requirements, submit proper documentation and attestations required by the program. So some of the amounts will vary, obviously, depending on how many folks apply that are eligible to receive a grant. So our DCEO partners, now we couldn't do this on our own. So we wanted to make sure that we branched out to some of our stakeholders and some of our partners. NCRC CDF is our administrator for this program. So through a competitive application process, DCEO selected the National Community Reinvestment Coalition Community Development Fund, it's a bit of a mouthful, or NCRC CDF, to support with the application review, provide technical portal support for applicants, manage the development of the application portal, and provide support in processing the payments of the grants, the awards. Submittable is also a sub-awardee to NCRC and the entity that will be running the online portal itself. Now, on top of that, we have our Community Navigator program, which is a great program that provides over 100 community navigators available across the entire state. So important dates to kind of understand. The application period is open currently. It does close on May the 10th. So we have about a week to make sure you find out information about the program, get your documents together, and apply online. More or less, the application is available through our website. And I did want to mention that you don't have to write down all the information you see on the screen, any of the websites. We will be providing a copy of the presentation that can be sent out to all of the registered folks. So that way you don't have to worry about trying to write every single thing down. So don't worry about that. We'll make sure we provide you that information. All right, now part two, making sure that you reach out to the folks that can help you. Who can help you? Our community navigators. They can help with reaching out to NCRC if you have questions specifically regarding eligibility criteria, if you're not sure if your business is eligible, what some of the funds, how that funds, the grants are being calculated. We can provide all that information and just kind of looking. And we hope to have everything closed down as of May 10th, reviewing all the applications, because remember, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to be more or less providing a grant award to everyone that is eligible, that applies and provides all the correct documentation. So with that being said, this is not a first come, first serve. You don't have to race to try to get your application in. You just want to make sure you kind of complete the application and submit all of the pertinent documents. Then we can expect the awards to start going out in June and July. So now we're going to go over a brief overview of all three of the programs. So there's three programs, which the first one being our Restaurant Employment and Stabilization Grant, or for the short, I'll refer to them as B2B restaurants. There's approximately $50 million, and awards could be up to $50,000 for restaurants or taverns with 50 or fewer employees. The Hotels Recovery Grant, or B2B Hotels, has $75 million allocated to itself and to this program. any business, hotel business can receive up to $1,500 per room in occupancy in the hotel. And the Illinois Creative Recovery Grant, or B2B Creative Arts. There is $50 million in this pot and up to $250,000 in grants for arts and cultural organizations. Now, here's a nice little grid that's on our webpage as well, and kind of gives a little bit of a breakdown. You can kind of take a look and see the breakdown between restaurants, hotels, and arts. The amounts of funding available, the award range. So for restaurants, it can be from $5,000 to $50,000. As I mentioned, up to $1,500 per room for hotels. And grant awards can be from $5,000 to $250,000 for the B2B arts. Now, the impact of receiving prior awards does come into effect, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. Ineligible if businesses for restaurants, if they received any prior relief funding in the form of back to business, the first couple rounds last year, the BIG or the business interruption grant, the RRF or Restaurants Revitalization Fund, or more than $10,000 in local funding. If you receive less than that in local funding, not addressing the B2B, BIG, and RRF, you could still be eligible. But if you received more than $10,000 in local funding, then you would not. So businesses that receive federal funds, such as PPP and EIDL, are eligible. And there are some differences in impact to previous awards for the hotels and arts. So hotels specifically, if you did receive any assistance, any grant award that you'd be eligible to receive this round, we would just deduct the award you received previously off of the new award. Now, flexible spending, how you actually spend, is very open for restaurants and for the B2B arts. For hotels, 80% is for payroll related costs and 20% flexible spending. And just to kind of give you a brief kind of example of some of the eligible businesses for restaurants, bars, taverns, hotels, motels, inns, performing and presenting arts, theaters, museums, cultural heritage organizations. So overall eligibility and application documents for all programs, who is basically eligible? So independently owned and operated for-profit corporation or limited liability corporation, partnership or sole proprietorship authorized to conduct business in the state of Illinois, or a nonprofit in Illinois and registered as a 501c organization. Some of the key things are the business must be in good standing with the Illinois Secretary of State. Businesses that received federal COVID relief funding, such as PPP and EIDL, are eligible. Eligibility for receiving B2B and BIG and RF differs per program, as we kind of covered. And then businesses must have been established by March 12th of 2020, just before the pandemic started. So restaurants, creative arts, businesses established in early 2020 are eligible to receive the minimum grant amount of $5,000. And I will ask everyone to just double check and make sure you're muted, because I think I hear a little bit of background. So eligibility and application documents, business owner and nonprofit leader identification in the form of a driver's license, state ID, a passport, or city key. Tax returns. Basically, this is how we're going to compare those losses between 2019, 2020, and 2021. So we will need a copy of those tax returns specific to the years. Now, ineligible businesses for all programs. Any government-owned business entity, private club or businesses that limits membership reasons other than capacity, a business engaged in activities that are prohibited by federal law or applicable law in the jurisdiction where the business is located or conducted, primarily engaged in political or lobbying activities, businesses engaged in teaching, instructing, counseling, or indoctrinating religion or religious beliefs, whether in a religious or secular setting, nightclub, strip club, pawn shop, liquor store, permanently closed businesses. So now a little deeper dive into the back to business restaurants. So what is some of the eligibility for the restaurants? So the business types we mentioned already: restaurants, taverns, bars. Eligibility criteria for 50 or fewer employees in operation from March 12th, 2020, and still in operation. Obviously, it can't be closed. And had to have experienced a loss in earned or contributed revenue of at least $5,000 due to the economic disruptions related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, They have not received any state or local pandemic funding, including, as I mentioned already, the Restaurants Revitalization Fund, the Illinois Back to Business Grant, Illinois Business Interruption Grant, or any other local state program providing over $10,000 in grants or loan forgiveness. Restaurants that receive federal PPP or other federal relief besides RRF are eligible to apply. Now, the award amounts can be based all the way up to $50,000. And the number of applicants may also impact the award amounts. As I mentioned, every eligible applicant that provides the documentation and is eligible to receive a grant will receive one. So obviously, the more folks that are approved will impact the final award amount. Some of the spending guidelines is the funds must be spent within a year of the award, and attestation will be required for that. Any funding not spent within that year must be returned. Some of the eligible expenditures, payroll costs, paid sick leave, employer contributions to employee health care costs, payments on principal or interest for the mortgage obligation of the business, rent payments, including rent under the lease agreement, utilities, maintenance for operational expenses. In addition to the documents listed earlier, a business must provide current food and beverage license at the time of application as well. Now to review the back to businesses for hotels. Business type, we already kind of covered that. Eligibility again from March 12, 2020 and still in operation. Short-term or vacation rentals are not eligible. Prior recipients of state COVID-19 funds, again, are eligible to apply. And the amount previously received under those programs will be deducted from the total award in this round. Now the award size based on the number of rooms up to 1,500 per room. All prior and local pandemic funding will be subtracted from the total award. The number of applicants may also impact the award as I mentioned. So what are some of the eligible expenditures? Funds must be spent within a year and the attestation will be required. As I mentioned, 80% of the funding must be spent on payroll, employee related costs, including paid leave, other employee benefits, employee contributions for healthcare, et cetera. And then 20% of the funding is flexible based on the needs of the business. Now for arts. Now the performing arts, venues, museums, a full list of eligibility documents can be found on our website. And as I mentioned, we are sharing the presentation which does have the links to our website that you could find a lot of the information on the eligibility requirements for all three programs, including some frequently asked questions as well. The eligibility is the same, March 12th, 2020, and prior recipients of state COVID-19 funds are eligible to apply for the B2B arts. Now the award sizes for the B2B arts are going to be based either on gross receipts for businesses or revenues for nonprofits, with a maximum award of $250,000. Applicants that previously received BIG or B2B must use the tax year 2021 as a comparison year. And the number of applicants may also impact the award amounts. For nonprofits, the award will be based on declines in earned revenue, contributed revenue, or total revenue, whichever is greater. And just the same as the other ones, the application period, as I mentioned, is currently open. It does close on May the 10th. You don't have to race to get it in. It's just you need to make sure you get your application in before May 10th. I wouldn't encourage you to wait to the last minute. Definitely reach out, get assistance from a lot of different resources that we have available. As I mentioned, our community navigators, there are different economic development organizations, even chambers of commerce, all spread out throughout the entire state that can provide assistance, technical assistance with answering questions, assistance with actually applying. You can also reach out to NCRC and Submittable with questions at the email listed above. More assistance that we have, obviously we have our team RED, we have our team OMI. These links actually do open up to the webpage as well. Our small business development centers, or SBDCs as we're also known, that are located throughout the state. Arts Alliance Illinois provides specific assistance with the B2B arts program. And as I mentioned, you can find the website at illinois.gov/B2B. And I realized that was a bit brief, but that actually opens it up to our next portion. Now, I couldn't see a lot of the chats coming through, but I will stop sharing now. And I will open it up to questions, and I'll check with my team to see how we've been doing.
Manny, you're doing great. I can go through some of the questions. First, we have a question from Jenny. Is local funding considered village and county funding? So if a business got a grant from a village or a county, is that considered in the $10,000 limit?
Yes, that would be considered part of that local funding. And as long as it's under $10,000, you would still be eligible. If it is more than 10,000, then you would not be eligible.
Great. And if we didn't fully answer your question, feel free to put it in the chat and
Yeah.
ask
And again, that one's specific
clarifying.
to restaurants, because
Right.
if it's actually for hotels, then we just deduce that amount from any award that you'd be eligible for.
Yes, and I encourage, excuse me, I'm sorry. I encourage Jenny in the chat to contact a local community navigator to determine the funding source of that local grant. And they are best able to assist them with that local case. Thank you.
Great. We got a question from Carolyn. I own a marketing, design, and web development firm. They create logos and websites. Are they eligible under creative arts organization? So I would encourage you to take a look at the eligibility guidelines for the creative arts organization. And so it really is, there are a few buckets in which it falls under. Independent live venue operators. So a venue that has a sound engineer, promoter, stage manager, security personnel, box office, right? A performing or presenting arts. If your operations are mainly in performing or presenting arts, like dance, film, literary arts, media arts, music, theater, visual arts, arts education, where you are providing an arts education in some of those things that I just mentioned: dance, film, music, theater, right? Museums, if you are archiving materials and displaying objects, and then cultural heritage organizations. So that's community and cultural arts centers, ethnic awareness and cultural awareness organizations, and festivals that are focused on promoting and preserving ethnic, cultural, racial, regional, linguistic, or religious traditions. So those can be found on our website. Would strongly encourage you to take a look. If just from what you've described, I'm not seeing in any of those definitions. If you're looking for additional assistance, I would recommend that you first build a relationship with your local small business development center, and put a link in there in terms of where you can find one near you. And I would also, if you're interested in low interest loans, I would take a look at our program, Advantage Illinois. That is a low interest loan program where you can work with a bank to get a traditional loan, but DCEO's participation brings the interest rate down. And if you're a women or minority owned business, then you can get a flat, I believe 2% rate, which in these days of higher interest rates, I know that is very helpful to many businesses.
Yeah, and Aaron, I wasn't sure if that original question was part of the tax documents for a nonprofit. So for some nonprofits that file a 990N e-postcard instead of a 990 tax return, those are some of the documents that you could use eligible to apply. And while I actually have a captive audience, I do want to share one more time real quick our homepage. So I want to make sure that everyone knows our homepage. It's literally dceo.illinois.gov. It is an immense resource. I highly encourage everyone to, if you haven't already, click on the Stay Connected, fill out your information so you can get updates on programs, resources that come out. Kind of similar to what Aaron just provided with, there's a slew of different business opportunity resources available to everyone. Just right here, small businesses, tax abatements, a lot of, if you need to find the SBDC that Aaron mentioned nearest you, you can just go ahead and click in here and have that information, find that information at your fingertips. So highly encourage that. Going back to the home page, this is where you would find, if you scroll down, see the B2B, back to business. You would just click here. Here's the brief information on the programs, but here's also one-page information on a lot of these, and I'll open some of these just to kind of show. Has some information, QR code that you could scan and open up on your phone. But more or less, a lot of the eligibility criteria is here. So you can go over the different programs and look for more specifics. So eligible businesses. And then last but not least, also some additional frequently asked questions. That information can all be found right here as well. And there's a slew of information here about the application window, where did this funding come from, awardees, who's submittable, how you can upload your documents. So a lot of great information here. Oh, and if you were looking to find a community navigator near you as well, that is here as well. So you can see all the locations, where they're located, the point of contact with an email and a phone number.
We got another question in the chat. How do I find out if there are other grants for businesses? So these are the grants that we have open right now for businesses. Like I said, our low interest loan program, Advantage Illinois, is a great resource that runs year round. Please do stay tuned for future lending opportunities. Especially there's a thing called State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI, and they are and that is federal money that has come through to the state, and we are expanding our low interest loan opportunities, especially towards entrepreneurs and startups. So really looking forward to seeing that. But I would go and make sure that you are signing up for our updates. And we do have a page where we have all of our grant opportunities. Not usually geared, not always geared towards small businesses, oftentimes infrastructure grants for communities, but want to make sure that you have those on your radar as well.
Thank you. And I saw somebody just posted, where is the actual application located? If you scroll to the bottom of the page that I was on, there's a link to the application, and it brings you to the NCRC website, where you will apply for whichever one your business falls under. As Aaron mentioned, there is a location here. If you see assistance for communities as well, grant opportunities. So there are different grants, information on grants that you could find out. Any additional questions? I hope my team's been doing a good job of answering them. I do see. Sorry, because I couldn't see any of them during the presentation. So, and thank you, Aaron, for assisting as well.
Yeah, my pleasure. We do have some more time. Highly encourage people if they have questions.
I couldn't have done that great of a job.
And so, Manny, how long, when you're talking with business owners and with our navigators about how long does it take to do the application?
That one is actually, it's a great question, but it really depends on how ready you have a lot of your tax information and documents. The application itself, honestly, to fill the application, anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, if that. But just how readily accessible do you have your documents, your tax forms, your license registration for your restaurants and whatnot, your good standing. So really, it's kind of getting those things ready. So it really depends.
Well, so if you have all your paperwork together, then if you have your financials together, then about 20 minutes for a potentially about a $5,000 grant. That's pretty
minimum,
great,
right?
huh? Yeah, pretty good return on investment.
Okay, Aaron, Manny, doesn't look like there's any more questions. So if you guys are okay, if we want to go ahead and wrap up, if there's anything else you want to present to the group. But I think this was great and hopefully informative for everyone here. More than happy to facilitate if you guys do have any follow-up questions as you're doing the application. You can go ahead and reach out to us. You can go ahead and reach out to those navigators that they were talking about, but we're happy to get you in the right direction too. If you just don't know who to go to, you can simply just email that RSVP email that you guys all registered for the event for, and we can get you in the right direction, whether it's one of our senator's office or get you in contact with a navigator or DCEO directly. So we're happy to kind of be that middleman to make sure that you guys are getting the things and the resources that you need to be able to apply for one of these grants. So I guess with that, Manny, Aaron, is there anything else you'd like to share before we go ahead and close?
You know what? At last second, we got some questions.
Okay, very good. Go ahead.
And Daryl has been answering a few of them, but just put them out here for everyone. So if our business is in another state, are we eligible for this grant? And you do need to be a business that is authorized to conduct business in the state of Illinois, or a nonprofit operating in Illinois registered as a 501c3 organization. So this is really for Illinois businesses. And then the other question we got is, would an arts council be eligible? I would say I would say very likely. My question would be, how do you support other arts organizations? So you might fall into the arts education or cultural heritage organization. And I don't know if there are performing arts that you do yourself, but I would say you probably, you should definitely look into it and consider applying.
And I think I saw another question there about recording. We actually also, besides this, today's recording, when you go to the B2B website, there is a recording from our deputy director that was conducted on March 24th. It is here, and there is also one in Spanish as well. So there are two recordings provided on our website, one from March 24th in English and a Spanish one as well.
Thank you, Daryl, for answering some of those questions in the chat.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Ellie, I think we can turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Okay. Again, thank you. And again, save that RSVP email. We can continue to monitor that email if you do guys have follow-up questions. So again, thank you all for joining, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. It sounds like the weather's starting to get good. So hope business is booming for you guys, and take care. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. And thanks, Manny and Aaron and the whole DCEO team for helping us put this on for our senators. I know it's very important to our caucus as a whole that we support our businesses, especially during those trying times during COVID. So again, just thank you.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and definitely reach out if you need anything.